Hello Autobots and Decepticons, my name is Somungry, and I'd like to welcome you guys back to more Transformers Fall of Cybertron. And in this gameplay I am going to go over some tips and tricks for the Scientist class. And this will be more or less a basic tip and trick video so that you guys can kind of get an idea of how maybe I play my Scientist, and then maybe later on I will go back, do some more videos that go more in depth with different weapons, the two different abilities, and maybe different ways to play the Scientist. But I just want to get a tips and tricks video out there, like a basic one, to help you guys with your Scientist class and to maybe help you guys level up faster. So first of all, it's good to know that you are the fastest on the battlefield in your vehicle form, and you also are pretty fast on land, but not as fast as the Infiltrator, and you also have the lowest health with the Infiltrator as well, so you gotta be using your speed to your advantage with the Scientist. And I think with using not only the Scientist but every other class in this game, half the battle is learning the character's strengths and his weaknesses against other classes and what he does best. Now there is a lot of different combinations you can use with your Scientist, and a lot of them are very good and arguably better for one person versus another depending on their playing style. But I'm just going to go through the weapons really quick and kind of tell you like how I use the weapons and maybe the best perk that I use on each weapon, for me at least. Alright, we will start at the top of the list. The Neutron Assault Rifle. Reliable automatic rifle, fires hyper-piercing heated neutrons at 600 rounds per minute. So it's got kind of good damage, well, a little bit lower than average, but it fires extremely fast. The accuracy isn't the best right away if you just use it with no perks, and the range is more or less a close range weapon, but the rate of fire is real high, so if you can hit your opponents with this gun becomes extremely deadly. And a quick note, I am going to be talking about the weapons as if you were a level 25 here. And for me on the Neutron Assault Rifle, I like to use the Cyber Optics. It increases your weapon accuracy, so that definitely helps me out when I'm in these close range battles and maybe the person's rolling back and forth. It helps me lock onto them a little bit easier and get the kill. His next weapon, the Orbital Pistol. This marks your enemy with an electric signature that reveals their location and decreases their armor. Successful mark increases the armor reduction effect. So you can mark them more than once and it will keep reducing their armor, and it will also mark them out on the battlefield for all your teammates. And now this gun is very underrated in my opinion. A lot of people don't like it, but it is one of my weapons of choice overall in this game. This weapon will help you rank up your Scientist extremely fast and also make you the ultimate team player, as when you do get a successful mark and he does get cleaned up by a teammate, you get plus 100 points, and it also acts as a pretty good weapon for reducing their health. I like to use it kind of like you shoot the opponent once, mark them, and then switch to your sidearm to finish them off, or just mark them for another teammate. And if there's a lot of enemies in front of you, I like to mark them all instead of marking the first guy 3 times, because instead of marking that first guy 3 times, you can go by and mark each one of those guys, get plus 100 for an assist for each of them, and you can also weaken all their armor. So I definitely recommend this gun, especially on wide open maps. And I like to use the Energon Stinger, which increases the effect on your opponent, or the Orbital Track Hack, which increases the times enemies can be marked. Now this is a very good long range weapon too. You can use it as a pistol from deep, and it has very good range. The range is very high and the damage is lower than the Neutron Assault Rifle, but I think the Neutron Assault Rifle is a better weapon up close, but also makes a great switch to weapon if you are using this gun. And the accuracy is very good on the Orbital Pistol, but the rate of fire is kind of in the medium range. Next up we have the Gear Shredder, my personal favorite because of the effect. I just love this thing. It launches ricocheting blades that slice through enemies. Fine aim displays the blade's trajectory, and blades can also be charged up to 3 times. So this thing will cut off a limb, so that is just priceless. And the damage is pretty good on this one. I believe it's around a 6 or a 7. The range isn't the best, but it's really good for corners and maps that have tight hallways, in my opinion. and the accuracy is pretty good on it. It goes where you want it to go, and it also ricochets off the walls, so you have a better chance of hitting the opponents. The reload time is kind of slow on it. You have 3 in the chamber, so you got to be aware of that. And I don't really recommend charging up on it that much. I prefer to shoot it off walls and use a different placement on my blade each time for a better chance of it hitting the opponent, because it does take off a pretty good amount of damage on your opponent if you can hit them with this. And I love this gun for sewers and spire, and if I use it, I usually shoot 3 blades and then I'll switch to my secondary weapon and then finish them off with that if I do get hit markers. Otherwise, maybe I'll just reload it. So that is a very good weapon choice, in my opinion. Not the best for open maps, but very good for those tight corner maps where you have to get at opponent around something or maybe in a corner. And it especially is good because you do not have to be exposed during the battle with this weapon. Now with the Gear Shredder perk, I like to use the Hyper Interlink, which speeds up the reload time, and I know you could use the Torque Ripper if you wanted to decrease the charge time. I personally just don't charge it up that much, but that could also be a good option. The Scientist's last weapon, the Photon Burst Rifle. This is a scoped semi-automatic rifle that fires charged photons in 3-round bursts. Now I love this gun. It's comparable to the BR in Halo 3. I really enjoy using this weapon. This is probably my most used gun overall because of its versatility. Now its damage is kind of in the middle, but its range is a little bit higher than above, and it can hit people from a distance, and its accuracy is very good as you can scope in with it, and you can use it with the scope or without. I think it's good both ways, and I feel like this is the solid weapon choice for anyone in this game. Well, maybe if you prefer the automatic over the burst fire, maybe you could prefer the Neutron assault rifle, but I feel like this weapon, you're going to have a lot of success with it. Now for the burst rifle's perks, I personally prefer the ion cartridge, which supplies more ammo in a clip, so you have a longer clip. But a lot of people do like the photon accelerator, which decreases the time between bursts and enables auto fire, which enables you to get off shots as if it were automatic. And this is a very devastating attack, especially if you have a couple people using this burst rifle and raining down fire on you. So I think either of those choices would be good. And this weapon, you can't go wrong with it on any map. That's why I think it's so valuable. It's good from a distance, it's good from close range, it's good from middle range. And in my opinion, it is the Scientist's most consistent weapon. And before I forget, one more weapon that the Scientist does have is his weapon in his jet form, his missiles that he shoots out. Those are great. They lock onto your target. And if you ever are sneaking up behind an enemy, I definitely recommend firing one of those into its back. 1 or 2 if you can get 2 off, but for sure 1, and then transforming and using your weapon, because that missile should take off their shield. Next up, the Scientist's abilities. He has the heal beam, which enables the user to heal their teammates. Now this is a great weapon. It's a great ranking up tool as well. For each successful heal you do on a teammate, you get plus 80 points. So I definitely recommend it if you are trying to rank up your Scientist more and more and provide a team-based Scientist for your team. And on this heal beam, I prefer to use the Energon Recharger, where the healer will receive a health buff after healing their teammate for a certain amount. Or I really like the Battle Medic, which grants increase in damage for healing a teammate. And now it's only a 1.2 increase in damage, but you would be surprised how much of a difference that makes, and that definitely helps out when you are healing and fighting at the same time. The Scientist's second ability is the Battle Sentry, which is a sentry that blasts any enemy within its sight. Now it will not hit Infiltrator if he is cloaked, but you can drop this at any time. And I definitely recommend using the Rust Sentry or the Power Core on your Sentry. Now that Rust Sentry is great for slowing down people in front of you. If you know you're going to be fighting with your team a lot, I recommend the Rust Sentry, because slowing a teammate down will help everybody shoot at him. Otherwise, if you think you're going to be more of the assassin, I definitely recommend the Power Core, as it will increase the damage and make the Sentry more powerful. Now I'm going to give you guys a few basic tips on using each of these abilities. For the heal beam, when you spawn into the game, instead of looking for a battle yourself, you should be looking at where your teammates are going and keeping an eye on high traffic areas, which you should learn throughout the map by playing the game over and over. And then you can tell where your teammates are going and go to where there's a couple teammates, and then you can provide healing from behind them. And then I definitely recommend more or less the burst rifle or a longer range weapon with this, so that you can heal from behind your teammates and help them out as much as possible. Now when using the sentry, I recommend a little bit sneakier of an approach. Once you see the battle going on, I definitely recommend flanking around, placing your turret in a high location, but not too high so that it won't latch onto the enemies. But you want to force your opponent to look upwards, because it is extremely hard for a player to look upwards, take care of that person, and have to deal with somebody at the ground at the same time. And if you can place your sentry kind of at a different angle than where you're going to be fighting, even better. So that kind of breaks down the weapons and the abilities a little bit. Now I want to get into some basic tips with the actual character. And the first thing you should locate on the map is that health spring, or the Energon recharger. You should always get there first, because you are the fastest vehicle. There is no excuse not to get there and claim that for yourself. Next, just because you are the fastest doesn't mean you should be the one initiating the battle. Wait for the Titans, the destroyers, to initiate the battle. Swoop down, heal them, or swoop down, use your sentry, and fight. Be a cleanup man and use your speed to your advantage. If you are in a battle that you don't think you're gonna win, get out of there as quick as possible, because you will die fast, as you have the least amount of health on the battlefield. And if you ever do find yourself getting chased with a missile lock-on in your vehicle form, make sure and on transform, dash backwards after you've dropped down a little bit, or dash left or right. I don't recommend dashing forward, because most likely that missile could follow up and hit you, and you also still are in point of view of your opponent. So I recommend dashing either left or right or backwards, and sometimes if it's a scientist chasing you, he will fly right by you and then you can shoot him, or left or right will provide you with some needed cover. And one kind of minor thing is pick a character that you like his transformation. Some characters I get stuck on things more than another, so I will avoid using that certain body type or that design. And my most important tip with the scientist is use your awareness. Be aware of your environment, where people go, what is going on the map, and be aware of where your teammates are fighting. And also use that high ground to your advantage. You are the person that can get up to the high ground the best, so definitely use that to your advantage, because high ground does rule in any video game. And if you do have a mic, definitely talk to your teammates. It helps out in any team-based game. Tell your teammates that you're going to be the scientist. You are going to be the one healing them, so that they can pick a different class. The scientist works best with other classes besides the scientist. Now, you can use the combo of two scientists healing each other, but if you are a scientist healing a Titan or a destroyer, that is also a very lethal combination, even an infiltrator. So this pretty much wraps up my tips and tricks video for the scientist. There's a lot of different ways to play him, so I'm sure I missed a lot of different tips and tricks, but look forward to getting more videos from me in the future. And don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know a tip or a trick that you guys use with the scientist. And remember to thumbs up the video if any of these tips or tricks helped you guys rank up your scientist or made you a better player overall. And don't forget to subscribe for more Transformers. Have a good day, everyone.
Autobots win the match.